As you know, we covered the economy quite a bit on this show, and currencies are an important part of the economy. There was a historic announcement today by the ECB and the Chinese Central Bank. Shraysi, who has been here all week long at the annual meetings between the World Bank and the IMF, has this very big story that's historic.
That's right, Phil. It is a very monumentous deal between Europe and China. Now, the ECB has signed a deal with China to help accelerate the internationalization of the Chinese currency, that is the yuan. It is the latest in a string of currency swaps that the Chinese have implemented so that it can further promote the usage of the yuan as a truly international currency and perhaps bringing it one step closer to making the yuan a reserve currency. Now, earlier today, I had an exclusive interview with European Central Bank Vice President Vitor Constancio, who spoke to me about the significance of this deal for both Europe and for China.
The recognition of the global importance of China and also of the increase in trade and investment flows between China and Europe that justifies this, because European banks more and more deal in the Chinese currency. And so it's important that we can provide a backstop if and when there will be some turbulence in the market. The banks can be reassured that they could get liquidity in the Chinese currency from us.
Do you think this currency swap deal brings China one step closer to perhaps rivaling the U.S. as a currency reserve?
Well, it's in that direction, but it's a small step, of course, in that direction. But certainly, as I just said, it enhances potentially the role of the renminbi in Europe. So, in a way, it will help the internationalization of the Chinese currency.
Europe is China's second largest trading partner. Do you think that this currency swap deal that the ECB has signed with the Central Bank of China is perhaps going to help see that trade increase in the near future?
Well, it will increase, but not perhaps so much as a result of that. That is important for the currency that will be used in the trade. Because potentially more renminbi can be used in those trade flows. Of course, trade depends much on other aspects, but of course it will continue to increase. That's for sure, because China is becoming more and more a global player, and there are many direct investments of European firms in China, which of course contribute immediately to trade flows with Europe.
During the height of the global financial crisis, there was a lot of debate about whether or not the creation of a monetary union within the Eurozone was a good idea. When you look back on that creation, what do you think could have been done differently?
The first thing to underline about that is that it is not only an economic project. It's part of a broader political project of European unity. And sometimes people don't think about that or discount that element, which is a very important one. So the monetary union worked very well for almost 10 years. And if you read the assessments of most economists at that time, they were very positive. Then came the international financial crisis, and that was a huge external shock. And then some internal problems were revealed as a result of that huge shock. So we have been dealing with those. The situation has improved in many ways. The extreme risks that the markets were perceiving have disappeared since last year. The tail risks have been practically eliminated, and gradually growth is being restored.
There's a lot of talk about the U.S. potentially defaulting on its debt. If the U.S. does end up defaulting on its debt, what sort of ramifications will this have on global financial markets and on the Eurozone?
It's hard to even contemplate such a possibility, and I really still don't believe it will happen. One thing is the partial shutdown that we are now seeing. A totally different thing is the debt ceiling discussion and the possibility of a default, which I think will not happen. The news from yesterday and today are a little bit more positive in that direction. But of course, if it would happen, yeah, it would play havoc in financial markets around the world.